winemaker, Ed Sbragia.
That's when you get really old.
I'm very proud to be with you today. And also, as always, our industry analyst, Jacques Brix.
Being promoted again.
I know.
Yes, thank you.
I know. And Jacques is already out of wine, and we just started. It's amazing.
Cheers.
Cheers. And actually, this is delicious. We are enjoying your home ranch Chardonnay. It's 2018?
2018, yeah. It comes from a vineyard that was in prunes, as everything in this valley was, in Dry Creek and in Alexander Valley in the 50s and 60s, and then went to French Colombard, and I pulled it out and planted Chardonnay in 1995.
Well, you were the master Chardonnay winemaker, I have to say.
I made a lot of Chardonnay.
Well, I consume a lot of Chardonnay.
So
It's a
do I.
match made in heaven.
It's still my favorite.
I know, isn't it fabulous? And actually, Ed, you are one of the only, not just guests on this show, but there are very few people who actually have met my dad. My dad passed away in '97, but I had the pleasure of meeting you when my dad was still alive. And it was a big deal to him because he was such a big fan of yours. So again,
Thank you.
I'm honored for you to be here today. So thank you.
And what was the occasion? Is it a vineyard something?
Well, my father was just getting interested in wine, and we were in Napa, and a friend of his knew Ed. Hey, Jacques, there's something going on behind you. Yes, it's okay.
Is it
It's
okay?
okay. Yes, yes. So sorry about that. So anyway,
It
so
is the
it was a big.
It's a beautiful cat.
I know. I know.
Just
Yes,
wish the
my
door had
cat's
been
scared.
closed. First thing he does, right?
Yes, but anyway, but it was a big deal to my dad to meet you, and I remember that, and you know that was, you know, Berenger's the past, but that must have been such an amazing experience for you.
Oh, it was great. I mean, I was treated really well. I mean, that's why I stayed for 32 years. And I started there in 1976 and left in 2008, so it was a long run. But we made some nice wines and
Well, you
got a couple awards. And
You're being incredibly modest. I mean, it's how you created the whole private reserve program at Beringer is really amazing. I mean, just turned it into such a big, amazing place. Actually,
there's a picture.
My godson is Corey Lukasik, who is friends with Gina,
That's right.
and he was taught. He
Very
told
good friends with
he
Corey.
told me about, if you just close that gate, it's fine. He told me about going to the Cayman Islands, and you were doing a winemaker dinner at the Ritz-Carlton.
That's right.
And it just made me, I remember him telling me that story because he and your daughter stayed in the Motel 6 down the street.
Well, no, it was a Marriott. So
Okay,
it
so, well,
wasn't-
he said,
it wasn't-
I know,
but
but he said it
compared,
was,
the Ritz-Carlton was like, I don't know, $800 a night, which I got 2 free nights, and then we stayed one more night.
that's funny.
And theirs was like $150 a night. So.
Well, he was really, he was very excited about going. He said it's the best dinner he's ever had in his life. But it just made me think about how you must have traveled to some amazing places while you were there. And this is sort of like the life of a corporate winemaker. It's a lot of work, but I imagine
Well, I mean, I think one of the things as a winemaker, and you know, it's part of it is not only to make the wines, but to promote the wines. And
yes.
it always amazes me that someone wants to talk to the winemaker instead of the marketing guys. But we ended up having, I guess we're the factory reps, you know, and
Yeah.
we were sent all over the world. And then I got lucky. I got to we bought a winery in Italy called Castello di Gabbiano, and I got to make wine there for
I
about
read
15
about
years.
that.
So
Wow.
that was fun, going there twice a year.
I
and-
bet that was really
and
fun.
learning how to make Italian wine, which is not the same as here. So
No, and you know, we're more fun than the marketing people.
yes, we are.
Let's
Yes,
face
we are.
it.
People want to talk to us.
Exactly. I know. So, you were in Italy. Were you flying back and forth?
Yeah, I'd go like for a week and stay in this chateau and eat really well and taste like crazy amounts of wine because they had as many lots as I did at Beringer. So
Oh my gosh.
they had like 300 hectares, so that's a lot of grapes.
That is a lot. What's the translation?
800 acres.
800 acres?
Yeah, so started right away replanting Sangiovese, the newer clones, and changing buying new, because they use used to be Yugoslavian, and now they're using French oak. And those are somewhere between 100 to 200, 300 gallons. So a lot of the Sangiovese is by tradition and law aged in those tanks.
Wow, how interesting. Would you go?
And then I got them into using some barrels.
Now I can't imagine. I mean that's a huge job. But just out of curiosity, would you go to Italy like right before harvest or right after?
No, right after harvest.
Oh, right after harvest.
And I go in the summer to make the blends.
Wow. The other thing I believe I read is that didn't you also have a project in Asia?
I was actually, when I retired from Beringer,
Oh, and you're winemaker emeritus?
Americas, right?
Master winemaker
Right.
emeritus, I
Yeah,
believe. That is
wine master.
wine master emeritus.
Master
That
emeritus,
is
whatever that
super
means.
cool. I want to be emeritus someday. I probably have to die to do that.
Probably, yeah, posthumous.
No, that's
But anyway, and then the girl that took over for me, she left now, but her name was Lori Hook, very good winemaker. She and I were pointing at the same glass, so there was no need for me to help her. She already knew what she was doing. So I became the Asian ambassador selling Private Reserve Cabernet.
oh my gosh.
So I went to China and Japan and Korea, Taiwan, and the Philippines.
Did you enjoy traveling to Asia?
I thought I wouldn't, because I thought everything was so small that I wouldn't fit in anything, because I was 100 pounds heavier back then.
Well, you're also very tall.
So it
You're
was,
one of the
but there
taller
were a
ones.
lot of tall Japanese guys, so I hung around with tall guys. it was a lot of fun, and then they were very kind to me, and we tasted some nice wines. Did a lot of seminars in a row, though.
In a row.
Yeah, I mean, you'd do like 5 in a row, an hour and then 15 minutes and another hour and 15 minutes. They
Oh,
were-
wow. So they'd put you to work.
They definitely did.
Well,
And then dinners late at night, and
at least, I mean, you have to admit, at least we do typically eat well.
we do eat
In this
very well.
industry.
Eat
We
very well.
appreciate it, and we drink well, which is nice.
So, how did
So
you,
this Chardonnay is fermented in barrels.
Uh-huh.
It gets barrel fermented, and we bottle it in March. So with 6 months in the barrel. So it's a pretty quick turn Chardonnay. I make another one out of Napa called Gamble Ranch. That is 18 months in barrels. I always wanted to make a French Burgundy, but we can't because we don't have their grapes. But we can
It's
use
as close, it's your close.
when you go taste wines from there, you realize that they produce characteristics that we would never use, but at the same time, like any place, using techniques that have been around for 1,000 years, you might come up with something if you try it, and it worked. So it worked fine.
Did you, have you spent a lot of time in Burgundy?
Couple trips, that's all.
Love Burgundy. We all love Burgundy, don't we? It's very nice.
and
Well,
the white wines in particular, the Chardonnays?
I know. Well, the
Well, I'd love to make a
Chardonnay-
red Burgundy, but you never can.
I know.
You
I know.
and Burgundy is not the same.
Would you say is Chardonnay your favorite white wine?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
mine too. It's
My
we all
wife's
love-
is Sauvignon Blanc, so I'm stuck making Sauvignon Blanc.
That's funny. I make it for my friends as well. I'd say the exact same thing.
I make it so it's kind of like a Chardonnay, but
I know. That's what people will say. Gosh, I don't typically like Sauv Blanc, and I'll say, well, that's because it's made by a Chardonnay winemaker.
That's it.
I know. So, well, I'd love to try your Sauvignon Blanc then. And actually, let's move on to
We would go to Gino's. The Gino's Inn.
the Gino's Inn. Okay, so now we are going to move forward in time where we are today, which is we are Sbragia only, and you're working with Adam, your son.
Yeah, my son. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I need to drink more wine.
Clearly.
And actually, I have some water here. Adam came to work for me, and I started the brand in 2001 at Beringer. They were very gracious and allowed me to keep my day job while I was starting a new brand, which the banks told me was a good thing. And I invited him. He was at UCLA finishing his degree, and he wanted to be an actor, and he was studying sociology and business. So other than being a chemist, which is me, it's pretty prime for being a winemaker because you do need to talk on your feet and
Yeah.
be able to promote your wines. So he's very good at that, and I've taught him winemaking. So he's been making wine with me since 2002, and now he's pretty much the winemaker. He does all the work, and I take all the credit.
Perfect.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I met him about
Can I pour it in
at
here?
least 10
Oh yeah.
years
Oh,
ago.
you can pour it here.
I was
That's fine.
I was having a haircut, and I'm sitting, and there's a gentleman, much younger, next to me in another chair. And I said, "Are you Ed's son?" He said, "God, how do you know?" I said, "Well, sorry, but he
We
can
kinda
have a
look
superstar
alike.
in town."
I tell him he's my little brother. Right?
He's sort of your mini me.
Yes, oh, yeah.
And wait. Very nice. That's good luck, isn't
Over
it?
the thank you. Over the
It was
shoulder.
white. We don't do it with the red. We'll stain it.
Well, especially wearing a white shirt.
Yeah.
Just a little tip you
yeah,
can
that'd
pick up
probably
on
be a
in the
mistake.
courtyard.
So we have two vineyards. My dad's old vineyard that we planted in the 50s, and that's called Gino's or Nono's Reserve. Since he's Nono, I guess I'm Nono now because I have two granddaughters.
And
Adam
that's
has two as well.
Italian for grandfather.
Grandfather, yeah. And then when I bought the facility in 2006, they had Zinfandel around it, and I'd promised him I'd take care of the vineyards, and didn't know it was going to take every dime I ever made or will make. So anyway, those two together are called Gino's Zin, and it's a tribute after my dad.
Oh, that's so lovely. You have the most beautiful piece of property.
It's a gorgeous place.
It is gorgeous.
So I saw that. My wife used to ride her bike around the valley, and she'd stop there and have a glass of wine halfway through her bike ride. And just one glass, because she had to come home and pick up the kids. But when it went for sale, she said, "You should go look at it.
Lovely.
You've been looking for a place." And I looked at that view and I said, wow, if we're ever, after being farmers in this valley for 100 years, if we're ever going to put our name on a building, that's it. So
I love that building. I actually.
And that's the dam for Lake Sonoma.
yeah, we have the best dam view around.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
nice.
We
Very
have a
nice.
book of dam jokes.
Yeah, there are a lot of good dam jokes, I'm sure. Well, and the greatest thing about your facility, especially right now, is that beautiful patio. You can sit out
Yeah,
there.
well, and it really helps in our world of having to be outside.
Exactly.
That's upstairs, yeah, that's the upstairs, yeah.
Well, and it
So we moved
has-
in there in 2006, and Adam came to work for me. And he does all the bottling, he does pretty much all the production. I just am there to kibitz.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, they have
pretty.
this most expensive view of Dry Creek Valley, you know, the north side
Well-
looking south. It's just gorgeous.
Oh, look at that.
Here.
I love that.
Us guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
very
few
nice.
bottles.
Yeah,
Well-
well, we were tasting inventory.
Well, I consider it a do not miss place to go in
So that's
Dry
the
Creek
family.
Valley.
My granddaughter, who's, she's not in that picture, but my youngest, who's now my accountant, and my daughter, who's a manager at Kaiser. She's a nurse, and my wife, who owns everything.
Your wife who owns it. She the
The
boss.
boss.
The boss, of course. Wow. So obviously, well, Sbragia is Italian, and I believe did Gino actually work at Italian Swiss Colony
Actually, my grandfather, Giulio, when he came over in 1904, worked there. In
in
fact,
1904?
my dad
Wow.
was actually born here but raised in Italy because Giulio was the youngest son, and it was his job to take care of the family. So he came back in. My dad came back with his brothers in the 20s. He came back in 1927,
Wow.
and then he worked at Italian Swiss Colony. And some of the same old men that worked with my dad, my grandfather, worked there. And there's this story the guy was telling about. My grandfather was at the top of the tank, and the other gentleman was holding the ladder. And my grandfather kept on yelling down, "Stop shaking the ladder," in Italian. And he says, "I'm not shaking the ladder, everything's shaking." It was the earthquake,
Oh
1906.
no.
So it gives you a perspective as to
Oh no.
what that was. And then Behringer bought the facility, so I made a lot of wine there. And Adam went to work in his education.
Oh,
he
wait,
he worked for
Beringer bought Italian Swiss Colony?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't, okay.
Well, had something called Napa Ridge and some other wines, and we wanted to make everything internally instead of going to places like Delicato and places in the valley. So we used it. And then Adam worked at San Clement with Aaron Pott, and then he worked with Ed Killian at Chateau Souverain. So he worked, since we owned it, he worked there. So we have 4 generations that worked at Italian Swiss Colony.
Oh my gosh, that's
Which
crazy.
is pretty amazing in this valley.
Yeah.
I think Pete Sagacio joined us a few weeks ago, and I think his grandfather worked at Italian Swiss Colony.
Well, and the Sagacio family was part of those Barbaros and that started Italian Swiss Colony in the 1880s.
Oh wow! So yeah, we have a lot of roots going back to Italian. I love that. So where in Italy is Sbragia from?
We're from a
originally?
town called Lucca, outside of
Oh
Lucca.
yes. Oh yeah, I've been to Lucca.
It's a little town northwest of Florence,
Oh, yeah.
probably about 13, 14 miles from the ocean.
Yeah, outstanding
And
food.
it's got a wall around it. It's where Puccini was. We all sing well from that valley.
Oh, that's
Oh,
the
there's-
crest.
Oh, tell.
Yeah, in fact, the crest underneath it, there's some writing.
Yeah.
And it says that we were declared nobility in 884 by Carlos Magnus. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was Courtyard,
Charles,
maybe.
yeah, Charles the Big.
And then,
Charles the Big.
and
Oh,
then,
man,
and
Charles
then
the
redeclared in 1020 by Enrico II. So yesterday was our September 1st, 1020, was our 1,000-year anniversary being officially noble.
That is
You're
here.
looking
Listen,
pretty good.
I will
Yeah,
toast
yeah,
to
for
that.
1,000-year-old.
Only
you're
till
looking great. Yeah.
somewhere about 1,000 years ago we lost the castle. So
Wow. What is around the crest that?
those are olive leaves, olive branches. So evidently there were, and then that's the family seal that we use on the label. Kind of changed, but the other one is the original. That other seal is in every Italian family. So
Is in every Italian family.
it
There's
has a little,
So you're saying this is the original seal, and
yeah.
and is that so? Yeah, I see it's still.
There's a griffin inside, which is
Yeah.
a lion with the head of an eagle, I think, or
Wow.
or a dragon with the head of an eagle. I've seen both. They're both different kinds of griffins, evidently. Somebody who's an expert on griffins gave me a big lecture one day. I forgot it all promptly,
And then the crown, of course, indicates royalty.
evidently.
What
I,
about?
I went
do you-
back to, the town is called Udine, which is right on the Slovenian border. And I went back and went into the place that has all the old Museum of Anthropology, and they only went back to the 1400s, so there was nothing,
Yeah, just young.
nothing
That,
from
that
the 800s.
they only went back to the 1400s. That's crazy. Well, it's pretty interesting that you have that
Now,
whole
whether
family history.
that's true or somebody went to a fair 100 years ago and everybody bought it and gave it to all the relatives.
Oh no, that's ridiculous. Of course, it's true.
Yes. We all
What's that
believe.
crazy talk?
Supposedly it's in the Museum of Anthropology in Milan.
You haven't been there, obviously.
And I haven't gotten that far. I've gotten from this other gentleman in Udine, I've got some names I can call up. But
Now, what is your a favorite Italian? I assume you like Italian wines.
Yes, I
That
do.
goes without saying. So do I. I love them. What is your favorite Italian varietal or producer?
probably Brunello.
I know, right? I get
Those
that.
Bruno de
Does
Monticino.
it
And then
grow
there's
here?
some great Barberas out of
Well, Barra does well here, right?
yeah, well, and it's in Barolo. The Barberas are there, Barbarescos. Those are
Yeah.
amazing wines.
Brunello is Sangiovese.
Yeah,
So
Is it
yeah, and it's a
100%
clone from the Brunello area.
wow. I love actually the last the last trip I took with my parents we went to Gaia. So that was
Great.
a pretty
Great.
yeah, I know. Italy's
Expensive
amazing.
ones.
Yeah, well,
Delicious.
Well, that was my job when I was at Galbiano, was to try to make a super Tuscan. But
Really? So was that
so
when-
that process was called Alianza, which was an alliance between that winemaker and myself. The only thing is, to be able to do that, you have to cull through everything to come up with the best ones. So you're starting at the whole inventory, tasting everything, deciding what's going to Chianti and what's going to Reserva.
So what you're talking about is you're talking about going through every single lot, correct? Every lot. And
every
how
time.
many lots
Well, I mean,
were there?
they were not as much as I had at Beringer, but we would sit down with 120 wines.
Can you do that? I do not have it.
Well, I mean, we did, like for
That's
instance, this
impressive.
tastes like
You probably have
strawberries
super
and
palate.
all this kind of stuff. Basically, when you're a winemaker, I don't know how to describe a wine with,
But
with
you-
essences of this and all that kind of stuff. It's got good fruit, a little bit of black fruit versus red fruit, and it's got a nice body. So that most of what we taste that many wines, we're just deciding what's wrong. And there's nothing wrong. It's good. Move on.
So you're just looking for potential flaws.
Yeah.
But you must have a good palate. I mean, you must not get palate fatigue very often.
After 100 wines, you have a good headache.
That's amazing. And then was this one, so were there DOCG wines and then you would have non,
Yeah,
or meaning that,
they have properties where you have to have paper in order to make Chianti Classico. And someone has to die, or you have to buy their land or their right to make Chianti Classico. And then you can apply it to your own vineyards. And you have to designate which ones, but it slides back and forth based on the quality of that particular
wow,
vintage.
so when somebody dies, the family can sell the
their right to
property
make Chianti.
and they sell the right to make it.
Yeah.
That's so
And
interesting.
then I think that's how they control the volume so that it's not overproduced.
Well, and in Italy, don't they control the volume, thus the yields. So what they're trying to ultimately do is,
But
I'm-
also the volume of
of how much you're.
vineyards.
That's so interesting.
And then when you make the wines, they have to be approved by a local committee.
Do they care about who gets the rights to make the wine? That's highest bidder kind of thing.
Yeah.
Look at Jacques; he looks skeptical
Well, because
over
it's
there.
similar in France, that's what I'm saying. So, there's always things under,
It's the
under the
European.
table.
It's the European method. Same thing in France. They have a committee that tastes the wine, and then they decide whether or not it deserves the right to get that appellation.
Now, was it common knowledge that Beringer was part of Gabbiano, or did they try
Yeah, I
to
think we
make
made a big
it,
deal about it.
or did they try to keep it to preserve its Italian?
We didn't make a big deal out of it, but
Wow, that's
the
such
Italians
a,
didn't talk about it too much because
yeah. Imagine that.
what do Californians know about making wine?
Exactly. Exactly.
How big was Beringer at your time when you left? Is it
When I first started, we were making 40,000 cases. And then we started something called Los Hermanos, the Brothers, which was an old label that the Beringer Brothers had, and that went to about 1 million cases. And
A
that
million?
That slowly decreased. And then one day, we had a really...
He just said 1 million,
Yeah, I
in
know,
case you
yes.
all did not catch that.
We had this horrible Zin vineyard that I wouldn't make Zin out of it, and the vineyard manager had talked the president into making white Zin. And he came to me and he said, absolutely not. And then he got on his knees and started crying because he didn't want to pull them out because they were young vines. So we made white Zin, and that went from 14,000 cases to 4 million cases.
White Zin
4
was
million then? Down
White
different
Zin
numbers.
was a crazy craze. I mean it.
Well, I mean,
it
look at
was
rosé
great.
now. I made
Yeah, it's
rosé
rosé, yeah.
backwards and forwards, and white Zin is a Blanc de Noir, actually, where you press the grapes right away,
Yes.
and then we ferment cold, and we arrested the fermentation on all 4 million cases.
How did you do that?
It's like a freight train.
Like a freight train,
You
I'm sure.
You chill it at a point where
just-
you do analysis on the sugar like every day, and you see how fast the bricks are moving, and it gives you a time range as it's going to hit a certain point. But you know a big tank's going to take more time than a small tank when you try to chill it. So you gauge all that, and then you stop it on a dime at 2%
That is
sugar.
crazy to think about.
And then white Zin gets
So the-
poo-pooed because it's sweet, but it's just a
You know
sweet
what?
rosé.
I think white Zinfandel did a lot for the wine industry because it was an introduction wine.
It saved a lot of
huge,
Zinfandel.
and it saves. I know it saved all those old vine
all
vineyards.
this old Zin
and-
that's here. We wouldn't have it if it wasn't for white Zin.
No, that's true.
And it wasn't just us. It was Mondavi and another winner called Sutterholm.
Oh no, it would all be Merlot now.
Just would. And nobody wants that.
I know.
I planted
It'd be a
Merlot in
disaster.
'96. Anybody want to buy any Merlot? Let me know.
Hey, Merlot is making a comeback right now.
It's really what's left. It's just like Zinfandel and hopefully what happens.
Beautiful
What happens
wine.
with Pinot Noir because people planted it where they should have planted potatoes. And,
Potatoes.
well, I mean, there are places where you shouldn't plant grapes.
That's funny.
Well,
That's
Petrus,
funny.
right? Probably the most expensive wine on earth from Bordeaux, 100% Merlot. Nobody
Yeah.
questions it.
And you know, and when people saw Sideways, the wine he loved, Cheval Blanc, was mostly Merlot.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you read the book, it was Petrus, 100% Merlot. He loved Merlot, but he hated his wife so much, that's why he didn't want any blank Merlot.
Thank you. So Ed just
killed the
explained.
plot.
Ed just explained the movie, and that's
It
why.
was obvious. It was right there. If you looked at
So
it,
if you haven't seen
instead
it
of that guy
yet,
flopping down the road.
so Ed did sort of tell the ending. If you haven't seen it yet, actually, it's sort of a movie about guys. Like, don't we all know guys like that? Seriously.
Yeah,
Well, maybe it's just me. I do.
we're all the same.
They are. But yeah, it was pretty.
So this is called Home Field.
Okay.
And Home Field refers to it's my son's wine, Ed Sbragia, and his tagline is it went from his playground to his paycheck. So it's his home field,
Oh, I love
being a
that.
winemaker. And so therefore it has the terraces and all that. And it's a Zinfandel blend, and it has 51% Zin, 8% Carignan, and 4% Petit Syrah. And the Gino Zin has Carignan and Petit Syrah in it also, because that's what my father used to like to have. And it has 25% Cabernet, 12% Merlot, and the wine is 100% delicious.
Oh,
I know how they got that.
100% Yeah,
Anyway,
remember, 100% delicious on this one.
It's aged in French oak. I got spoiled at Beringer. We only used French. And once you get used to it, it's a little bit different than American in that it's not as heavily spiced as American oak, and it's a little more supple.
So you're partial to French barrels
Yeah,
because you.
just used to it. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a flavor. I mean, actually, an American oak is a better barrel for thicker steak, better
Sturdier.
construction. It's just that American oak, it's another whole segment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to take us forever to talk about that. But anyway, I only use some American oak, a French oak. And this is aged in barrels for about a year and a half, about like the Zinfandel, about 30% new oak.
Now, so your son, in the back label I'm seeing, he was born and raised in Dry Creek Valley?
He lives in the house that he grew up in.
Oh, that's.
As I lived in that house that I grew up and raised my family there.
And you were born in. Were you born in Dry Creek Valley as well?
Yes.
And raised in Dry Creek Valley?
in the old Hillsburg Hospital here in Hillsburgo.
Oh,
Well, not
That's-
too many people.
And when I grew
That's
up
so rare.
here, you could. My uncle came in the 50s and spoke Italian. Never learned English. He knew the cuss words, but and had 100 acres of Pinot Noir out in Russian River Valley in the 60s,
Wow.
and had 7 kids, and they all did well. So there was a
Wow.
little microculture here for a long, long time.
Well, so you just have wine in your. It's wine in your blood.
Yes. When I get
Genetically-
when I have to get an infusion,
It'll be wine.
It's wine and blood.
Wine that's in French oak.
Yeah.
So you have about 50 acres, is that right? But maybe a little bit more.
Around, yeah.
Yeah. And so where are they? Are they
Well-
primarily here?
Right across the freeway,
Got it.
right there.
So by West Side Road
Yeah, between West Side and Dry Creek.
and Dry Creek. Okay.
And then I have the winery.
Yeah. Okay. So the wines that you make from Napa, you purchase the grapes.
Yeah, I buy about half my fruit. My family doctor has this Cabernet. His name's Dr. Anderson, local.
Oh, I know Dr.
Oh, I
Anderson.
know, he was my
He was
doctor.
my doctor
he
too.
was-
Richard Anderson, we call him Andy. Andy has 10 acres, and that's my dry cried cab. And it's actually quite popular right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, because it's, it sells for what, $40, and it's aged in
Wow.
great French oak, and it's sold out at the winery.
Yeah, great.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's funny, Dr. Anderson, that you couldn't lie about, how much do you drink? He said, we know it's more than a bottle a day because
I
your
just say-
neighbor he was here yesterday.
Oh yeah, because your
Just
neighbor
say
looked
same
in your
as you,
garbage
Andy.
can.
I drink as much as you do.
Well, this is really delicious.
That is
It turned out really well, and,
Yes.
for me, I didn't touch it. I didn't have any. I mean, being semi-retired, working with Adam, I kind of come and go, and when we do blends, we taste them together and we make them together. But he pretty much does it day to day. This one, he did it completely. He made the blends, everything. He finally let me taste it before he put it in the bottle, and I said, this tastes pretty good.
Well, aromatically, it's fabulous.
Interesting.
But
but-
it's got nice texture, and I'm an old man now, and I
Oh,
realize.
no, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, it's official. We are not old.
I'm a lot older than you.
No,
Yeah,
no,
okay, now we-
no. But it's
I just
delicious.
turned 71.
Well,
You're not.
You're-
You're past 45.
you're making me blush.
So
This is
what
delicious.
what does the cab add to it?
Density.
The density? Is
Yeah, and I think though it still has this lusciousness. And I don't know how else to explain it.
It does have
It's a
lusciousness.
suppleness, but it's just a rich and flavorful. Every once in a while, I'm drinking a cab, and we have a bottle that's open, and I'm get to like almost to the end of the glass, and I'm getting tired of the tannins. I'll pour this on top of it. It just makes a beautiful drink. See, I would add more
It
Cabernet,
had-
but
Yeah.
see, I'm a tannaholic, and he's more fruit
Yeah.
driven. So we're different in that way. He likes more fruit driven wines, and I like wines that rip my face off.
It tastes like you
I
get
brought
the,
one of those.
Oh, good. We want to rip our face off today, of course. It tastes like you get the Carignan in the finish.
We have this great little vineyard called Fortini, and we make a Carignan for the tasting room, and it's just a beautiful
Oh,
wine.
I love Carignan.
It's just a beautiful
Now,
wine.
do you feel like saying Carignan since that's the classic?
Carignano.
Oh, Carignan, no, okay. My
I don't know how to
Italian is terrible.
Speak English.
Well, join the club.
So I use it. I think it's what's the proper pronunciation?
It's
well, Carignan in
Carignan,
French.
isn't it?
But
well,
without
the Italians, the Italian farmers who have been here for a long
Carignan.
time life say Carignan.
Carignan.
That's how they
Carignan,
say it.
Yeah.
But they probably used to say almonds too, instead of almonds.
Is it Italian or Spanish? Carignan grape. Because in
I
France,
think
it's in Rhone Valley.
I think it came from Spain, and then
I
it
thought
went.
it was
Then it went
Spain,
to
yeah.
south of France.
Yeah.
And the Italians, I don't think they have Carignan.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It's
either.
hard
But
to
when
find.
if you think about people coming, especially from Tuscany region, coming here and bringing their food and all that, so they need something that was like Sangiovese that we're used to. Because even in Lucca, where they're not in Chianti, the local guys make Sangiovese. I remember in '97, which is a killer year, my cousin went down the road and bought some just plain old Sangiovese. And I brought all sorts of cabs and stuff, and the wine was so good, I didn't even pop a bottle. It was just, the wines were just amazing. Just plain old Carignan made in a stainless steel tank.
Do you have Carignan at the winery right now? Like, are you selling it right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to buy some, like, tomorrow. I love it. It's hard to find. It's hard to find
Well, it's
people who
great.
make
These
it.
are old vine Carignan. It's great.
Wow, I can't wait to try it. I'm
Yeah, there can't be too many. I mean, I don't know, like Unti has some, right?
Well,
maybe?
there are a lot of
But that's it.
winemakers. I was actually talking to Nick Goldschmidt
Yeah.
today, and there are a lot of winemakers who are dying to find it, and it's hard to find.
Well, one of the things that my dad did is when he planted a vineyard, and when there was a time when Zinfandel was being abused and people were bringing things that weren't Zinfandel into the winery, so
You mean
we-
the scandal?
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that.
And we were all
There's been a lot
forced
of them,
to
different
count how
ones.
many in a field blend. We were forced to count the vines, how much Carignan, how much Petit Syrah, whatever. We had stuff
So,
like
so
early,
Ed's referring to a situation that you're talking about how people would say it was
yeah, I mean, there were
sin
a
and
couple
it
guys in the
wasn't,
valley
and
that
yeah.
went to jail
you
for
know,
it.
they're yes.
We're
they're-
not going to
you
mention
can-
any names.
But it's crazy that there actually was jail time involved in this little.
If people know Freddie, but I didn't say anything.
You know, yes. So there was jail time in the big scandal, but you would count to make sure that because you obviously wanted to. You were
So
above
in that
board
vineyard,
and-
my dad had planted 85% Zin, 10% Carignan, or Carignano, and 5% Pedicera, or Petit Syrah. First time I heard Petit Syrah, I went,
Petit Syrah,
you've
yeah,
got to
that's
be
what I heard too.
killing me. I mean, Petit, it's anything but Petit. It should
No,
be
it's
Grand
not
Syrah.
petite. That's an oxymoron, sort of.
Pedicel.
It's one of the biggest wines, and it always turns out really well.
Okay. Oh
So
my
this
gosh.
next one,
Okay, we're moving on to
Wow.
the big boy here.
this is Cabernet, and making wine at Beringer for 30 years, I got to a lot of good friends on Howell Mountain, and a lot of our vineyards, or most of our vineyards, were up on Howell Mountain. I had them from Spring Mountain, which is on the east side of the valley, west side of the valley,
West.
and a couple on the foothills, and then most of them were up on Howell Mountain. So this belongs to a guy off of White Cottage Spring. His name is Mark Neal, and it's a Neal vineyard.
Was the
And he has his own little winery up there.
private reserve? What was the appellation always the same on the
Well,
private
they used
reserve?
Napa Valley because we very strongly believed that we didn't want to dilute what we were building as Napa Valley, which it's paid off. I mean, Sonoma County needs to kind of, and I was really pleased when we passed the appellation law that says, even though it says Dry Creek, you have to put Sonoma
Yeah,
County
so
at the bottom.
in Sonoma
it's an
County,
important thing, and for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, people now believe that we make better wine than that other valley that makes car parts.
and we do. That's right, and we do. And so, what it's referring to is that Sonoma County decided to get involved in branding our county,
Yeah.
which is the greatest county in all of the wine industry.
We're bigger and better.
We are. We're bigger. We're
But-
better.
Some of my old friends in Napa Valley have some great little vineyards, and it's all about, Sbragia is about single vineyards, except for the two blends that you had, the Geno's and the Homefield, are the only two blends we made. But when I left Beringer, people asked me, what are you going to do when you do your own wine? And I said, we're going to make wines of place. So each place has the same barrels. Now I make 4 different Cabernets, and the Cabernets have the same wood, same aging, 2 years in barrels, brand new French oak, 2 years.
And
No
what's
fining,
what's the percentage of new
filtration.
oak?
It's 100%.
100%. Wow.
And in order to be a single vineyard, it has to be 95% from that particular vineyard. So I can put 5% other. So it's got 4% Cab Franc in it and 1% Petit Verdot.
Wow. Where do you get the Petit Verdot?
I had from a little guy up on a place called Cavedale, on Cavedale Road, which is Moon Mountain District now. But
Oh, I love
you
Moon
can
Mountain.
you can see San Francisco from this vineyard.
Yeah, that's a little AVA and
It's way
Sonoma
out wide.
Valley, but it's. I got some Grenache from
So
Moon
is that-
Mountain.
Well, I crushed Monte Rosso.
Or Barbera, I got from Moon Mountain, actually.
I crushed the Monte Rosso vineyard, and I get it from.
Wow. And that's
Wow, it's an
now owned by
amazing.
Gallo
I
again.
lost it for a year, and I got it back. They gave
Good
it
for
back to me
you.
this
Well,
year.
and it just shows just bringing up Moon Mountain shows the diversity of Sonoma County. We have so much to
Yeah,
offer
Moon Mountain
here.
is basically, if you go to Napa Valley, the mountain that divides Napa from Sonoma is called the Mayacamas.
Yeah.
And when you get that far down, on either side, on the Napa side, it's called Mount Veeder. So I assumed we were going to call that hillside where Monte Rosso is, which is about, you go out of the town of Sonoma and come north, it's on the right side, on the east side, facing west. And I thought they were going to call it Mount Veeder Sonoma. But nobody in Sonoma wants to call anything that anybody in Napa calls anything.
Imagine that.
I think we need to forget all that, and just do the right thing. So that whole valley, the Sonoma Valley, was called Valley of the Moon. So thus Moon Mountain came out. which is okay. I'm getting used to it.
You're getting used. But you know, you have an interesting dichotomy because you're Napa and you're Sonoma.
I have a foot in both valleys.
You're the only person I've ever met who truly you're identified with both.
I can get away with it. Most Sonoma County winemakers would look at me and say, "Why are you making a Napa Valley wine?"
That's true. And
It's funny that there is this little, what's the right word? It's not a war, but it's a little kind of,
Chauvinism.
just a little shoving match, back and forth.
not that there are big egos in the wine industry, but occasionally
There's a couple in Napa Valley.
A couple of them here.
No, not really.
Does Napa care about Sonoma, or are we just sort of annoying to them?
I think,
Starting a war here. Yeah.
Well, he's
no, I think
No,
they
no,
do.
you're right.
I think we both respect each other, actually,
I think so.
and work with each other. I have a lot of good friends over there since I've worked there for 30 years. And great growers. We have great growers everywhere. So it's all about the grapes,
It is. It is.
whether or not it says Sonoma County or Napa Valley.
Well, this Cabernet is absolutely delicious.
This is a 2014.
Is this
This
your
is a great
current
vintage.
vintage that you're selling in
Yeah.
the
Well,
tasting
they pull
room?
it out of the stacks. I'm bringing everything we had
Wow.
from there.
And you still have some left, so people that watch
They can buy
can order
2014.
some.
Yeah. They maybe even could buy some 213, which is, I think, a crazy vintage. It's just a big, big wine.
So you're 13 is
13 and 15 seem to be the bigger wines, and 14 and 16 are softer.
That's a big, beautiful example of what
It's just
cabs
lovely.
are made in.
This is all clone 6 with little berries, small crop. Sometimes it looks like currants. In a couple of years, I was like, how are you going to make it selling currants
where
to
the
me?
berries are so small.
It's really tiny berries.
Wow, it's delicious. So we've as we enjoy this, my gosh, I'm actually drinking more than I typically do, I'll be honest. I love your wines.
Thank you.
I've always been a fan, but wow, so I highly recommend purchasing the Howell Mountain Cabernet. But so I don't mean to brag, but I did make wine for one athlete, but he did not get a Super Bowl ring. And I understand that you were Joe Montana's winemaker, correct?
We started at Behringer for the 1997 vintage. It was the 2000 Napa Valley wine auction.
Did he come to you and wine?
We both, he liked our wines, and
Oh my gosh,
we
I just see
became
the
friends.
footage here. I love that.
And it was actually happened to be Kevin's 12th birthday, who is now my accountant. And he said, sure. I picked the date that was his birthday, took Kevin out of school, and we blended the wines, and that was the first one. And I said, did you like doing this, Joe? And he said, yeah, let's do it again. So we did it every year that we thought was a great vintage. And then when I went to Sbragia, he did it with me one time, and then now he's tired of doing these kind of things. He wants to
Well,
do his own thing.
He's the
But,
hometown hero of the Bay Area.
yeah, and
for
so he was
sure.
fun. He's a nice man. Obviously, I watched him, with 2 down and 2 touchdowns down, and then 5 minutes to go, and we knew he was going to win. And the other team did too. So he's a great football player, but a great guy. And he raised his kids in Knights Valley. They went to Cardinal Newman and Ursuline when there was still an Ursuline. And his daughters played all sorts of football and basketball, and basketball and volleyball, and his sons played football. And I think they tried to go pro, but they did pretty good.
Did he have vineyards at that property in Knights Valley?
He had some vineyards, but it wasn't something that he wanted to keep. And so he still has his house out there that's like an Italian villa. And
Oh yeah.
it's beautiful.
I've heard
So,
that.
he and Jennifer, so.
Very
Once we
nice.
used to see her jogging down the road. But anyway, no, he was a good guy, and it was fun doing.
I bet
and
it was.
My family loved it.
I bet they. Did you ever go to any games as a VIP? Did you take advantage
We
of
poured
the?
wines a couple times, and
Oh,
that was
did you?
fun.
That's fun. Yeah.
Usually the people that worked for me wanted to go more than me. I like staying home and watching it on TV.
It's easier to see on TV. I love sports. I watch a little more than I should, especially back when it was more popular or prevalent, I should say.
My wife loves basketball, so she's watching
Yeah.
everything.
So the other thing I was told is that you are a musician.
Long ago, Mike Martini and I and a couple other guys used to just sit around and play guitars together. And I grew up playing accordion.
Accordion.
And so when I was 16, I
That's so
didn't want to
Italian.
play accordion anymore. I didn't want to touch it.
Did you take accordion lessons?
Oh yeah, from the time I was 7. But after
Were you
16,
good?
I didn't touch it till I was 50. Yeah, it was really good.
What do
Anyway.
they say? There are those who hate it and those who play it, or something like
Yeah.
that.
That's how it is.
I got
I
one
love
where
the accordion.
people are going to heaven and they're all happy and white and they're handing out harps. And then down below, there are people going to hell and they're in black and they're crying and the devil's handing out accordions. So go to hell, play an accordion.
You're making our camera guy laugh like crazy.
Anyway, I started playing guitar when I was 16 and just screwing around and had a little bit of lessons. So we were playing together, and the American Society of Enology and Viticulture used to have dances. Well, they weren't going to have a dance here, and they didn't have a band, and they didn't want to pay them. So we volunteered, but we didn't have a band. So we were called that first year Okie Bunghole in the laptop.
Okie bunghole.
And that's an inside joke. Okay. The hole where the bung goes in is called the bunghole.
Okie bunghole.
But then we finally started getting a lot of gigs, and we finally changed our name to Private Reserve. So we played as
nice.
Private Reserve for almost 30 years. We played on cruise ships, and we had a great
played on
time.
cruise ships?
Yeah, we got to be friends with a wine writer who was the director of entertainment, Lynn Farmer, director of entertainment for Regent, which is a pretty nice line. And we got friends with the operations guys, and then when Lynn wasn't involved anymore, they invited us directly as musicians. But we didn't have to go sleep down below. We got regular rooms. So it was a great day.
You just sleep.
So-
You didn't have to sleep in steerage like the other bands.
Yeah.
And so would you actually go on these cruises and play?
Yeah.
And what type of music did you play?
We played old rock and roll, Elvis, Hank Williams Jr.,
Nice.
Motown, whatever would get people dancing.
Well, you know, Ed, I'm in a band, and I'm the drummer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Awesome.
But the name of our band is Vertical Flight. So we do 60s, 70s, 80s color.
Yeah, that's what it is.
In fact, Michael Deloche, who's our behind-the-scenes person, is our lead singer. He's quite talented.
That's great.
I'm not a talented drummer.
I used to sing things like La Bamba and Wooly Bully and,
You did? Oh, so you were a singer and a guitar player.
well, screamer. After that, it was all over. The voice, you can tell the voice is gone now. So I got 2 songs and it was done.
Did you, so obviously you like music. You enjoy listening to it. Have you met very many musicians through your wine career?
Who'd I know?
Just curious, because a lot of...
ZZ Top, wasn't there a ZZ Top involved?
Met
somewhere?
ZZ Top.
Oh,
Billy
ZZ
Gibbons.
Top.
He's a good friend of Mike's.
Oh, he's acting so casually. He's going,
I
oh, there
know,
may have been
gosh.
one or two. Oh my
What else
God.
did I meet?
Did you
Somebody came as
did you hang out with ZZ Top?
Yeah,
I love them.
good man. Very nice man. His, no, and they're great. They're just amazing. And they're amazing as a band in is they've gone from whenever they started in the 60s through multiple generations, and every generation loves them more and more.
Oh yeah,
They're more popular than ever been right now.
they are. They are. Do you still?
Find it the benefits of being a winemaker. You get to eat and drink and play music. What more do you want?
I agree with that completely. And oh, this wine, isn't it delicious? Jacques?
Oh,
Well,
I know, Jacques. He
I'm
tends to
sorry,
run
but
out.
no, the evaporation is tremendous in this area.
You know,
well, I mean, it's, the humidity. No, actually,
the humidity.
luckily for us, the humidity's
That's
high.
right. I glanced over and Jacques had a little sad look in his
Oh,
eyes, so I thought maybe he needed a
You should
little
fill him
more
up
wine.
again. Salute.
Beautiful, salute.
So, what do you see coming up next? Do you have new blends or new vineyards or new wines?
We have a couple of vineyards. We got a new one. I was going to lose Monte Rosso, and that kind of went on and on. And
Yeah,
then
why were you going to lose it? Just because they?
Well, because Cabernet was short here,
Yeah, I know.
and everybody wanted to keep their Cabernet, and it belonged to a winery. The Gallows own it now. It belonged to Martini's before. And I had it for a long time. And they basically stopped selling it to anybody.
Yeah.
Biala
Well,
used
you
to-
were probably one of the few who even had.
I was one of the last ones.
You were the last,
And then
that's a big
But
compliment
now all of a
to
sudden
you.
Cabernet now was going to surplus, but who knows if it's going to go shortage again, who knows in terms of the current vintage. So I got it back.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
So,
very few people have it, because I know a few of them that said they had to beg, cheat.
I did
whatever.
everything I
You
could.
did it exactly.
did you do a little accordion playing to
I went to Joe's office and they call it the Temple in Modesto and played accordion
the
for him.
temple? Yeah. That's funny. You played the accordion at the temple in Modesto. Very nice.
I also remember when you bought that property here, that
Don't mind if I do.
there was a brewery in there.
Sorry, I'm being a bad hostess. Sorry about that.
Yeah, there was. It actually was.
Oh yeah, I remember
The
that.
winery, it was called Lake Sonoma Winery, and it was started by the Polsons in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It was a family that had it, and it was privately owned, and they sold it to Gary Heck of Corbel Vineyards. And Gary had gone into Manifest Destiny and bought 4 different wineries, which I think he's sold them all now. And he sold it, he shut it down, and my wife went by to go have a glass of wine and noticed there's a sign for sale. And we'd just bought a house out there, and I had never borrowed money in my life. And I just borrowed a whole bunch of money, so I went back and said, would you loan money for this project? It's a lot of money. And they did. So we bought it in 2006, and haven't looked back yet.
Well,
So does this mean that there was a brew, I guess?
So anyway, the
beer industry
brewery
here?
there, thank you for reminding what I was talking about.
I'm usually the one
It went that way.
who loses it.
Anyway,
job.
Russian River Brewing Company. Then he started that one there, and then we can make 750 barrels a year. There, if somebody wants to make beer, let me know. We'll make them for them.
oh wow! So you have the permit for it.
Yeah. So anyway,
that is big.
he started there, and now he's done quite well for himself.
Well, we may have some beer custom crushed. We may start some big project here.
So maybe we should, huh?
Accordion Beer Company.
There we go. I got this great one. It's an accordion, kind of a derelict playing in a band next to this beautiful woman, and there's a guy playing an accordion in jeans without a shirt on. Going, that's never been that way with an accordion. It's a fat guy in a corner playing.
That's funny. Well,
That's when I stopped. The last time I played was at a place called Shakey's Pizza.
oh,
with
Shakey's.
with
I
an
remember
Oom-Papa
Shakey's.
band. And I said, this is it. I'm not going to play this anymore.
The accordion. Do you still have it?
Oh yeah, I have multiple accordions.
Yeah, my
So then I play it again in the band for 30 years. So, but I only played like a couple songs.
But yeah,
But-
last when I was growing up, accordion was not cool, right? For us, rock and roll was cool, and now it's all coming back.
It is coming back.
It is a
I saw a
beautiful
Gap
instrument.
commercial,
Yeah.
if they're still in business, and the guy's sitting in a doorwell with jeans on, playing accordion.
no, it's a great instrument.
It is a great instrument. If you notice most music, there's either a synthesizer and an accordion stop on, or it's an accordion playing because it's a very distinctive sound.
So is your band still getting together?
My keyboard player moved to North Carolina. Mike moved to the ocean because we had a place in Napa Valley where we even had a studio where we could record. And we just kind of, but
Disbanded?
he just said we could do a Zoom practice.
They
Yeah,
have
that'd be
this.
cool.
There's
Yeah.
actually it's a little bit expensive, but there is this app that allows you to all sort of jam together.
I guess you could do it on Zoom.
Well, there's something a little more sophisticated than Zoom,
Probably, yeah.
but you could do it on Zoom. I mean, because you create
Excuse
with
us.
this. Well, I'm just saying that you can actually create the music
Oh, you could
remotely.
actually record.
Yes, I think you can record it and you get more live time. So, yes. From
So
what I
that's an idea.
understand.
Keep the band back together again.
I know. Keep the band together. Make a little beer. Keep making wine. You've got it all going
How
on.
do you rate 2020? The fruit out there looks gorgeous.
Fruit
everywhere.
is going to be awesome. Wines
I mean,
are going to be
yeah.
awesome.
I agree. Everything looks great.
It's just-
Raw it from 19 to 20. I picked Sauvignon Blanc already.
And so have I.
And it's beautiful. It came out at 23, right on the money. That makes about a 13% alcohol. And everything else is in the 14s, and I gotta wait till like 24, 25.
So do you pick around 24, 20? That's your, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I do. So you're
I
not
mean,
a-
when you wait for that, and that's people complain about high alcohols, when you're waiting for maturity, and after we replanted and went to trellises that are more organized and more uniform and with drip irrigation, fruit's not ripe at 23.
Yeah.
It's still crunchy and the seeds are green. You have
Yeah,
to
and
What
wait.
is it, 23
And
what? What do
At
you-
23, they're not ripe.
Yeah, but what's the word that follows the 23? What is that called?
Immature.
Bricks?
Oh,
Brix.
Brix.
jeez,
Oh
I
my
had to pull
gosh.
it out.
Okay, Jacques is pandering for us to say his last name, but
Yeah, I'm
it's,
begging
it's,
for attention
it's,
here.
it's impressive that
Your
You
name
know-
is Jacques
Bricks.
Percent Sugar?
20, probably 28%.
well, assuming that it's not like his stage name, it is the classic
That's
spelling.
a great name.
Brix. It is.
Yeah, I remember Gina Gallo telling me, did you get this, $10 an hour job, just because you change your name for that? Like, for $10 an hour? I don't think so.
Well, it's a
And
great
that-
name.
They don't use it in France. It's the Beaumet scale.
Beaumet.
Darn.
So your name is Beaumet and
Yeah, so when I go back to France, because I said, Bricks.
Oh, it
Jacques
doesn't
Beaumet.
mean anything.
Oh, that sounds very good.
Oh, no
Oh,
You
wonder
change your
you.
name.
Yeah,
It's much
No
more
wonder you
fluid.
live here.
I think it goes easier, yes.
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway, it's going to be a great year.
Yeah, I'm
The
excited
flavors
about
are
it.
great.
Early, 3 weeks early, you said?
It's early, but I think, waiting for maturity. I mean, picking Sauvignon Blanc the last week in August, that's pretty normal.
Yeah, that's
And
normal.
picking Chardonnay after Labor Day is pretty normal.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a late vintage at all.
No, and
I mean, I think people got used to picking early. I remember not picking, in fact, that Chardonnay wasn't picked till the 25th of September, which is late.
that is
And
late.
I've picked Cabernet all the way till November 17th in 97.
It's funny, my latest day to pick was November 16th.
Yeah. And that's pretty late.
It is
People-
late.
I
Isn't
don't
it
think,
weird
I
how
think
you
people
remember?
would freak out if that happened now.
It's funny how you remember weird stuff like that.
Well, I used to remember every tank and bricks I picked them at and the analysis. I can't remember where work is anymore.
Yeah, but we still remember our vintages. So, well, this has been a truly fun day, and I appreciate you being
Thanks
here.
for having me. I
Oh
appreciate
my
it.
gosh! So the iconic winemaker. What is the advice you would give to Adam and your family who will be taking over the winery, as far as the?
I think that, it's a repetitive thing. I mean, you do the same thing every year. As soon as one thing ends, the next thing starts, and all of a sudden, grapes are coming out, and it's time for harvest again, and then it's time to rack, and it's time to get the wines in barrels, and then it's time to take them out of barrels to make the blends and the bottle, and all of a sudden the grapes are starting to come out again, and you go around. I think you need to truly love what you do. Love the fact. I remember walking around one time around 6 o'clock. A couple coyotes were chasing me around and watching the sun go down. And we're on the west side, the east side of Sonoma Valley, looking towards the sunset. And I'm going, And to think, I don't get paid anymore, but to think I used to get paid to do that. You know, it's a wonderful life. And
It is.
being a winemaker is truly being blessed because you get the
agree.
best of a lot of different worlds. So I tell them, you know, my dad used to say something, coraggio e avanti, courage and forward. Sometimes those are good years, sometimes they're difficult years. I remember years where we only had 15 inches of rain in a year, 5 inches during bloom and 10 inches during harvest. And the fruit was difficult to make, but we ended up making some pretty good wine, but you had to be on it and attention to detail and all that stuff that makes for anyone who does anything
And
perfectly.
and tell
And we have to make it perfect.
we do, and we
There
only
is
have
no
and we have one shot
kinda.
a year,
Yeah.
one chance a year. And say the expression again that your grandfather would say.
Coraggio e avanti, courage and forward.
Well, here
All my kids, and I'd have it on they have it tattooed on their arm. I'm a wussy. I'm not getting it tattooed. It had to hurt really bad, especially inner arm. That's where they put it.
Well, it's a beautiful expression, and cheers.
Coraggio e avanti.
Yes.
If I could pronounce it well, I will learn to say that well. Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you,
Thank
Jacques,
you.
as always. And we'll see you next week. This has been fabulous. I encourage you to buy Sbragia wine because it's absolutely delicious. And until next week, enjoy wine, enjoy life.